With Saul today, we're going to do a little experiment. We're going to use the process of electrolysis to clean up a rusty part. I've seen a lot of other people do this. I always thought it was cool, but never did it myself, and he wants to help me with it, and we're going to give it a try. So, what do you have to say?
I'm excited and hope it works.
Yeah, what do you think is going to happen?
I think that the main rust is going to come off, but not the little details.
So it's going to get kind of cleaned up, but not completely?
Yeah.
Alright, why don't you show them what we're working with, what the part is. Tell them where that came from.
We found this on a hike that we went on and decided to try it.
What is it?
A horseshoe.
Let's talk about what we're going to do to make it happen. So what do we need to make this experiment happen?
You're going to need some tap water. You're going to need a special stirring stick or something to stir it with. You're going to need wire to conduct the power. You're going to need baking soda. I'm not sure what this is for, but you need it. You need a sacrificial piece of metal.
Yep.
You're going to need your rusty part. And a battery charger or a power source.
Alright, get your stirring stick. So we're going to add the baking soda. This helps make the water be more conductive. If you just use plain water, it won't work very well. If you use distilled water, it won't work at all because there's nothing in it to help it be conductive. So just put a couple tablespoons or a fourth of a cup or so of that in there and give it a stir. And so this is our sacrificial piece of metal he was talking about. All the rust, hopefully, if it works right, is going to be drawn from this piece to this piece. So use something you don't care about. This is just a piece of a rusty bolt or something. So take a couple inches of that and wrap it around there real tight. Why don't you thread that through one of those holes and then wrap it around a couple times. Pull a little bit more through, yeah, and then just wrap that around. Alright, and then stick that in on the other side. Okay, so now we have our two different pieces with our two different leads. One will be positive and one will be negative. Everything ready to go. Now we're going to hook up our power source. Make sure it's unplugged when you do this. Okay, so you're going to hook up the negative to our part that we're working on. So go ahead and clip it on there. And I'm going to bend it over just to make sure it's good and tight. And then the positive goes on your sacrificial piece. Here we'll these clamps are kind of worn out, so we'll have to make sure they're tight. It's important that the positive terminal is not in the water because it'll actually start to eat away at your clamp, and you don't want that. The negative, it doesn't matter as much. So now we're going to set this to 6 amps and plug it in and see what happens. What's gonna happen when I plug it in, do you think?
Nothing.
Nothing? Alright. It is plugged
Bubbling.
in. Whoa. Something's happening.
They're both bubbling.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it on the camera because of the lighting and stuff. Let me come over here. But there are kind of like a hazy bubbles coming up out of there. I don't know, what would you describe that as?
I don't, like foggy bubbles?
Foggy bubbles. Alright.
Looks like bubbles turning into fog.
Right, how long do you think it's going to take?
5 hours.
5 hours? Okay, we'll see. Okay, it is currently the next day. This has been in there. I turned it off overnight, but I started it early this morning. So it's been in there a total of about 22 hours. So that should be more than enough to do what it's got to do. The water looks pretty disgusting. What do you think?
I'm not sure if it worked.
What's your prediction?
Like I said earlier, I think the majority is gonna be cleaned off, but not the little details.
Alright, let's unplug it and see what happens. Plug it up and let's see what we think about it. Let me set it right here. Alright, so what's your first impression?
The wire turned very green like the Statue of Liberty.
What was the wire made of?
Copper.
Alright, so it's definitely corroded. So this is the moment we've all been waiting for. We're gonna pull the horseshoe out of the soup and see what it looks like. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, nice and careful. Don't splash. Let me pull it out and set it over here. Okay. Well, what's your initial reaction?
Did it work super well?
Not as awesome as we thought?
No.
Okay, let's look a little closer. This thing was super duper rusty, and it still looks pretty darn rusty. What do you think?
I think it worked very little.
I think it kind of worked, but not as awesome as Google said it would. I'm noticing the... So how was your hypothesis? Did it come true?
No.
You said a little bit better, but not completely. This, I think it kind of looks the same. So that's kind of a bummer, huh?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's gross. Nasty. So, there's definitely lots of rust. Say, you got anything to say?
No. Don't try this at home, it doesn't work.
Would you do it again?
No.
Not worth it?
No. Unless
Maybe.
it was something that I really needed and I didn't have a wire brush.
There's a place for it, I suppose, but it definitely didn't impress me too much. So, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks for your help.